Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the B2B Revenue Leadership Podcast. Hey, it's another year, another time to make some more money, and I've got the course for you. Start the conversation, get the meeting will help your team, both business development, sales development, get into those new cold accounts, whether that function is under marketing or sales. I'll help you with that by starting organic, natural conversations, not pitching. Have people open up with you, build up a connection with them, understand your total addressable market, prioritize it, and put in a system that scales, that's predictable, that works the way you want it to work instead of the old school pitch. Believe me, I've sat through so many of these cold calling seminars, courses, books, and I've been doing it for 30 years, and it's evolved. And what I'm doing today is what's working in today's world. It works naturally, and people are just loving it, getting meetings, closing deals, and doing it without the rejection that is typically there in sales. So check it out at b2brevenue.com under the training tab. You can schedule a call with me. We can talk it over. I'll explain how it works and how we can work together on it. You can buy it per student, or I'll customize it for your particular product and team and coach you through that process. Also, if you're a sales leader and you want predictability, you want direction, momentum, and control with your deals, you can sign up for that course as well. Same type of model. A year-long access to it. It's content, community, and coaching, all included at b2brevenue.com. You can get my free ebook there on how companies make product selections. That's all free. Let's get into the interview, but I want to make sure you're checking out my partners. They're in the show notes. This week, it's Pipedrive and CoVideo. Pipedrive is the new CRM. It's been out for 5 years. I've been using it forever. I love that. It's connected up with your email, your calendar, and now they have team capabilities. CoVideo is the video email system. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's the way to break into new accounts. It's so much more engaging than text. Check them out. Also, make sure you're checking me out on LinkedIn, Brian G. Burns on LinkedIn. Let's get into the interview. I'll sum it up at the end. Hey, Renee, thanks for joining us today. As a way of getting started, tell us about yourself.
Hey, Brian. Well, let's see. I'm 59. I've been in sales and sales management all my life, or all my career. I didn't think I would start that way, but when you need to just start making money, it was the easiest job to find. And I was good at it. So I just kept going at it. But it wasn't what I went to school for or thinking about doing that. But kind of fast forward, even if I slowed it down, just to get it, I think it's important for anyone thinking about who I am, understand my background is really, I started out cold calling door to door back when that worked really well. Then into a little bit food service industry, still doing some cold calling, then into office equipment with dictating. And then my career went into the cellular industry when it was early on. And that gave me experience working with small businesses. It wasn't such a boom as it is today. It also introduced me to the corporate world, where I was selling more enterprise sales to the big companies that we have out there today in Silicon Valley. That's where I grew up at. And then it launched me into my management career. I moved out of the Bay Area after 35 years up into Klamath Falls, Oregon, actually a little town outside of Klamath Falls called Keno. The store, the school, the gas station. And I opened up a new branch for Cellular One up in Klamath Falls. And so that was my first experience doing kind of a general manager position. Did really well there for 5 years, moved up to Central Washington, took on 3 offices for Cellular One up there. And during this whole time, my manager was Donnie Castleman. And I would say he's a really good friend, and he didn't know that he was being a really good mentor at the time. And so a lot of my management approach came from him, and it's basically because what I saw in Donnie was that he demanded a lot from us. He set clear expectations, and he cared about us. Donnie was the one that would give me the call at 5:30 and say, "Hey, Renee, how you doing? How was your day?" Not how much did you sell, but how was your day? Yeah. And that really stuck with me. So after that, I was during that time in cellular, there was a lot of mergers and acquisition. The business was booming. There was a lot of small companies getting eaten up by the big ones. And eventually, after 6 mergers or 6 buyouts, I'd say, up in the Northwest where I was, I finally was let go. And so I didn't know what I was going to do. Looked at different opportunities. Looked at I was looking for a Togo's franchise, really. Going to start selling sandwiches, That was going to be my thing.
Worked out.
and I found this company called 360 Solutions, which was a high performance team and leadership training program. And it just kind of fit me. I'm always been a teacher, and I can remember one of my first sales jobs when I was mid-20s. I could still remember drawing up this yellow notepad of how to set goals. I was teaching the sales team how to set goals, This is what I've always done. And so I started training people, and I got some great material, great training from some real experts in the field, and did a business like that for about 5 years, from 2001 to 2006. I loved it. I loved teaching people. What I didn't like was I couldn't be around them long term to get any sustained change. I knew that I'd fed them some good stuff, but I really didn't have any idea if it stuck or how much was initiated. So I was a little bit out of sorts, and for about a year, just kind of wandering, but still working. Little tip there for salespeople: you don't always feel great. Get to work anyway. Okay, get up, shower, put your shoes on, go to work. And so in 2006, someone introduced me to a concept that I had been praying about and seeking and hoping for some new direction. And this gal, Deborah Gravel, said, "Hey, Renee, why don't you manage small business sales teams?" And I said, "Wow, I'm going to do that." I mean, this was our first meeting we ever met. I still know Deborah. I just called her last week. And I said, "I'm doing that, man. I've been looking for some new direction here, been praying with Bill, and I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to do. And I'm doing this." Called up my friend Bill, told him what I was going to do. He said, "I know who your first client's going to be. Let me give him a call." He had been working with a company in Texas. A week later, I was showing them Texas this new business concept that I put together, and they signed up. And I started managing Mike Schneider, and he was my first client. He's still a client. I'm meeting with him next week. And he went from being a new salesperson back in 2006 to being the CEO of that company now. And so in the meantime, for the last 12 years, I've been managing small business sales teams that don't have a sales manager, that have 2 to 10 salespeople. I do it virtually from my office in Auburn, California. We use webcam, screen sharing. I do visit as needed, but most of the time it's not needed. If I do my job right, the salespeople are doing the selling. I'm doing the leading, the guiding, structure, and encouragement, and they're getting the job done. So that's kind of where my career has taken me from beginning to today. And now I've authored a book called Part-Time Sales Management, and getting ready to hire my first consultants and train them how to do what I do.
Cool. And you like it. Sounds like it.
I love it. I guess if I was to give you an example of how I knew I loved it, was when I was doing the training, it was work. I was learning someone else's material and delivering it to people. And then when I started doing this from scratch, I remember telling someone, my wife, I said, the work I'm doing now is just like breathing. This is just what I'm supposed to do. It's easy instead of a struggle. And so it's been that way. And I would have never thought about writing a book. I'm really not the best with the English language, grammar, all that. That's hard for me, but I have plenty of ideas. And fortunately, there's enough people around me to help me get it presentable. So it's readable and enjoyable, I hope.
Yeah, because it's a lot different than doing sales consulting, where you're trying to help people learn how to sell their product. So is it more leadership or management or both?
It's all of it there. Someone posted a question on LinkedIn recently, and I responded to it, but about the whole, what's management, what's leadership. And leadership, there was some definition I read recently. I think it was in a book called The Joshua Principle, that, leadership doesn't make excuses. So I've always kind of said, when you hire me, I'm accountable for the sales goal. I'm not just a coach, a consultant who's going to give you good ideas or teach. That goal is mine, and then I pass it down to the team, and we take ownership of it. That's leadership. And then the management part, though, is important because there's structure. So making sure that there is job descriptions are detailed out. Compensation is well understood. Sales process is understood. The CRM actually links up to all the processes we built. It's not over analyzing or creating too much structure because I work in small business, but it needs to be there, and it's usually missing. Yeah. And with clear expectations, you can create accountability. Without clear expectations, you can't. And so it's no secret why there isn't much accountability in many companies.
And I've been a sales manager a couple of times. And how do you do it part-time? It's like...
Oh, it's great. I read this article called, I think it was called McGregor. And if anyone's listening and wants to know about that article, I think I have a copy. Email me, we'll tell you how. But it was about this manager who basically just sat with his feet up. His schedule was always open. He just met with his people once in a while just to get updates from them because he was a master at clear expectations. And then the biggest thing I learned out of there is don't make decisions you hire someone else to make. And I think that's really a key thing. It's like if you hired them to make a decision on who to call a salesperson, how to perform the process, how to interact with those people, then let them make those decisions. That's what they're there to do. I'm not there to teach them how to be me. Yeah. I'm there to let them show me they know how to do those decisions and produce results. They're showing me. I'm not making them. And so with that, so that's kind of anyways, that's where it started at, Brian, is that, just getting me to think that way. But really, there's 5 key elements, and they're listed out in my book. You got to believe in your people. So you can hear it in me. I just believe people can get it done. And if they don't, then it's just, that's their thing. We can't do everything in life. And if you can't do it, then okay, that's fine. I still believe in you as a person. And then 2, got to set clear expectations. Some of the areas I described: business plan, individual plan, process, job description. And then 3, you have to create an accountable environment. So I do those pieces of expectations, and then the accountable environment comes in monitoring those expectations in a supportive and responsible manner. What I mean by that is that we'll look at numbers in a sales meeting. It's not about calling anyone out. I mean, it's about putting up a mirror, letting people look at the mirror and make some decisions. They have decisions to make again. How are you going to get your number? How are you going to improve that? So maybe we'll talk about those things. And the next piece is meetings. So the 4th element is meetings. Meetings have to be consistent. We have weekly meetings, monthly one-on-one meetings, and then as a sales manager, you need to be available for impromptu meetings and be present when they happen, and be supportive when they happen. And if you have the other 2 meetings, the weekly and the monthly, they know when to bring their big topics. And so you start training people how the communication flows. So when they have an impromptu meeting with me, it's important. And to be honest with you, I'm managing 30 people. Most weeks I don't have an impromptu meeting. most week no one calls me. They're out working. Yeah. We handle it in the meetings, other scheduled meetings. And so as long as you keep those meetings about them, not about my agenda, they have all the time in the world to speak up. And if they don't, they're out there working. So then the last piece is conversations. So we got beliefs, expectations, accountability, meetings, and then conversations about how you converse with people. And I mentioned the term being present when they call in that impromptu meeting. That's really important. And if you can't be present, then reschedule that to a time where you can. But being present means you're really listening to what they're trying to say. And if you do that, you're going to get less exaggeration from salespeople who do that naturally. Salespeople exaggerate, the sky's falling, the customer's going to quit, he'll never buy from us again. And all they're really saying is, listen to me. All that stuff is just like you got to listen to me and trust me. And if once they know that you do listen and you do trust their opinion, that stuff goes away. All that dramatic conversation goes away. But if you're not listening, it keeps coming because that's what they do to get you to listen.
Yeah. Now, I got to also say on the other side of it, not just on the rep side of it, but I assume you'll report to a CEO or the business owner. They tend not to have realistic expectations in some cases, or optimistic maybe is the better word. How do you manage that?
Individually. So, I have they're all over the board. So there's the ones that like to set expectations. That one client of mine is his preference is let's shoot for the moon, and if we land on top of the mountain, we'll be happy. But we usually hit the middle of the mountain. We used to hit the middle of the mountain, not even land on top of the mountain. So basically, the goals didn't mean anything. There was more excitement about setting goals than attaining goals. And so that was one owner. So how do I do that? I managed it. It took me a couple of years, but finally got him to agree to say, we're going to set reasonable goals that the companies that fits in the budget, and we're going to go there. So how did I work with him? Over time. You can't change everyone overnight. But as long as we're making progress, I'm patient enough to, if we're going in the right direction, I'm patient enough to work on those other things to get us all in alignment. So that's one. The other extreme is just no goals. Just wishing people would sell more or do things different. And that's easy because you just actually start setting something and they see the results of that.
And how many companies can you do this for at a time?
I've worked with 7. It's been the most I've worked with. And they're all different industries. That's I guess I like that. I got oil distribution up in Canada, commercial insurance in California. I got another California company that does coverings for the commercial, the contractor world that's got to cover things to protect things. I have a marketing media company out in Minnesota, a company that builds fire trucks out in Minnesota. Got another construction company up in Portland right now that sells specialty materials for roof decking and siding on nice projects. So I didn't seek any of these people. They all found me. And then there's just been a whole bunch of others over time. But it's fun. As long as I could do it and still be available for the impromptu calls and the impromptu meetings, then I'm in good shape. As long as I could stay sane. So far, so good.
Yeah. And how did they find you? Word of mouth or?
Website, referrals. People, it's funny, I've got subscriber lists and worked on that. At the end of the day, it's like when they pick up the phone and call me or they schedule a meeting with me, they usually are ready to roll. Until then, because what's different is that it's just a different concept. No one's really looking, at least for the most part, up until now, last 12 years, there's very few people that wake up going like, I need to get one of those part-time sales managers. Yeah. The guys that work on the computer screen with the webcam, got to find one of those. No one's looking for that. What they usually are is looking for solving a problem like, how do I motivate my team? Or how do I hire a salesperson? And then they just happen to find their way to me and make sense to them, and they pick up the phone.
And what do they typically look like? Have you noticed a pattern?
Yeah, there is. It's a real. There's a real. The size is usually like $1 million to 10 million. Some more sales than that, but that's kind of like a comfortable client. They usually have, like I said, usually 2 to 6 salespeople. They do not have a sales manager. They outside sales has been the biggest thing, but I've had inside sales showing up now as well. And probably the biggest element is they have an owner who is open to a different way. Because this is really different. And but with the different way, what they get is, they're hiring someone that's usually less than half of what they would pay someone full time at their office, and someone that knows what they're doing and has proven themselves. If I have to toot my own horn.
And how do you put boundaries I mean, I would think with, more than one, it would become overwhelming really quick.
Give me an example of what you mean by like, what are you thinking of when you say boundaries?
Well, especially if you're getting compensated on an objective, or at least partially compensated on an objective, and that's, either unrealistic, and you got to hire people, and you got some junior people, and some people that might want to be managed out or need to be managed out. And you got the CEO calling you at the end of the quarter, and you got all the reps calling you at the end of the quarter, and a lot of finger pointing going on.
Yeah. Okay. So that's clear. That I understand. It's really important to set boundaries, and those are set up front. So I'm reluctant to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I had one owner ask me, well, how many hours are you going to be working with my team? And my response was as little as possible.
Interesting pitch. Yeah.
So it wasn't like, I don't know that everyone wants to hear that, and I might have just lost some potential clients right now. But the truth is I work towards results, and I'm a business that work towards profit on my end. And I think the owners that work with me understand that. They're not looking for, yes, initially they're looking for hours because they don't know if I could get the job done. But at the end of the day, they just want to know I'm getting the job done. And what the job is what I described earlier. So they know the deliverable is the meetings that I attend to, the performance reviews, hiring people, training. I bring in, we do book studies usually most of the time. Sometimes I'll bring in some other training tools that I think might help an individual team. I don't put any limit or expectation on my visitations with them, but we just say, hey, if I feel like I need to be there, and it's really if I need to be there because we're really talking about a specific strategic direction we need to go, and I need to facilitate a stronger conversation, or early on if I need to build a little more trust and bond with the team, then I will make the extra trips. So I have parameters and boundaries, but I also use my instinct in what I believe is going to help me from a leader, what's going to help me and this team get to the place we want to be. Once they start seeing the results, as far as, and I would say the biggest result that comes out of most of my work is information about how the team is doing. Owners usually don't have accurate information on how many meetings, what type of meetings, what are they saying. Pipelines are just, hyped up stories. And now we have, real data to look over. When owners start seeing that information, it really brings a relief to them so they can go ahead and start working on the other initiatives they've been wanting to build in the business. I really believe that element of being relieved of worry, stress, anxiety, frustration, whatever you want to call it, frees them up to be the CEO, the president, the owner of the company they want to be, because they know the sales cash flow end is being managed appropriately, and so they can work on other things. And I don't know if I answered the boundary thing a little bit. I think a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. Is part of the plan to eventually hire a full-time either VP of sales or sales manager, sales leader, or are a lot of people happy with this model long term?
The original thought I had was along your thinking there. When I started this, I thought, okay, I'm going to do these guys for 6 months, get them prepared for a sales manager, and move on to the next client. And what's come about is that I've had one client for 7 years. I think 2 or 3 of them now for over 3 years, almost 4. One for a year and another one that's new, and somewhere else in between there. And why is that? I'll explain why. What I've come to realize is there's something I've coined as the small business sales management dilemma. And that dilemma is that you need most small businesses need a sales leader, sales manager, someone that can drive sales to be dependable, to have a team that you have duplicatable things that you can hire. You don't have to have your cousin, your best friend, or whoever you really know is going to do it. And you can hire anyone. Corporations do it all the time. They just hire people, and then people go sell. yeah, small businesses don't always know how to do that, and especially because they don't have the infrastructure. So first off, you need someone to really help you develop that sales department so it can be a growth center for you. The problem is, here's the dilemma. Okay, you need one. Say you're even willing to pay someone good money to do that. The job at that company isn't challenging enough to attract the right talent. There's not a full-time sales management job. So that person who decides to take it, who many owners have hired that person for too much money than they wanted to pay, and that person's sitting around and they're given other jobs to do and to try to manage other departments. Why? Because there's not a full-time sales management job there.
Yeah.
And so that's the dilemma that I've solved. And so now the sales manager now comes in and we become this part-time sales management. Growth, this is not a Fortune 500 company that has growth goals of 30, 50, 100%. No, this is a small business that enjoys incremental growth, a nice culture, profits, and gets to have the life they want, and it doesn't have to grow too fast. So most of my clients haven't grown that fast where they were ready to bring someone in. One of them has, the one that's been with me 7 years, they can bring in a full-time sales manager. But they don't want to rock the boat right now, so I'm still there.
Yeah. And I guess when it does run really well, meaning that you got experienced reps and the sales model is well understood, you got the infrastructure and the reporting in place, it should run like a machine.
It should.
Yeah.
I mean, the salespeople should be doing their job, just like the accounting department. Once they get all their processes in place, there's not a whole lot of management there, right? They just process stuff.
Well, I mean, sales is so different and more complicated because we're trying to get people to do things.
Yes, it is, but that's our job. It's just another job. Get it done.
Yeah. Cool. Hey, this has been a fun conversation, and I think it's a great idea, and I'm glad to see you've executed it so well. Where do people go to learn more about your work and connect with you?
Sales Manager Now. salesmanagernow.com. You can find everything you need there I think I tell people, if you just want some support on ideas, hundreds of blogs in there that I've written over the years to give you plenty of thoughts. If you want to get some tools, there's some free downloads there. If you like to have free consultation, they can get a hold of me. If you want to order my book, you can order it through there. And if you want to hire us, you can do that too. So there you go.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that. Hey, make sure you check us out on LinkedIn. And B2B Revenue is the website. You get the free ebook there. You can learn about the courses. You can also check out my YouTube channel, Brian Burns Sales Podcast on YouTube, where I store both these podcasts, my videos that I do daily on sales and marketing tips, all the webinars are hosted there. So if you ever get lost and you don't know where to go, Brian Burns Sales Podcast on YouTube is a great place to be. And you can sign up to get on my calendar at B2B Revenue under training, and we can talk over your sales and marketing situations about getting you into your dream accounts in a fast, natural, organic way. And if you happen to see my content fly by on LinkedIn, I'd really appreciate a like or comment or a share, and we'll see you next time.